Hello and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. In today's video we're going to be analysing the poem Mirror by Sylvia Plath. So firstly, a bit about our poet. Sylvia Plath was an American writer who lived between 1932 and 1963. Unfortunately, she suffered from depression for most of her adult life and she died by suicide at the age of 36. She is a very famous writer, very well known, and she even won the Pulitzer Prize. Mirror. So the title is very simple. It's just one word. It states what it is. The mirror states what it is. As we're going to see, this poem is written from the mirror's perspective. And from the very first line, this is what the mirror claims to be. The mirror claims to be objective, honest, and straightforward. And so this title mimics that because it's just sort of stating the truth. We are going to assess whether this is actually true later on, whether a mirror is so objective, honest, and straightforward. But that is what this is what the mirror is claiming to be. I am silver and exact. I have no preconceptions. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmisted by love or dislike. I am not cruel, only truthful, the eye of a little god, four-cornered. Most of the time, I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long, I think it is a part of my heart. But it flickers faces and darkness separate us over and over. So our first stanza, we start off with I am silver and exact. This is personification because the mirror is being given the human trait of speaking. So this is from the mirror's perspective. It's a first person perspective. And the mirror claims to be silver and exact, literal and precise. Claims to have no preconceptions, just shows you what your true reflection is. In terms of the structure of this line, notice the short and simple sentences. It's a statement of fact, just as a mirror states the truth of one's appearance in no uncertain terms. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately. Once again, personification of swallowing, just as it is. Notice the enjambment in these lines. Unmisted by love or dislike. So unmisted meaning uninformed or unswayed by love or dislike. It's not that the speaker or the mirror shows you what you want to see or what you don't want to see. It just shows you what is. I am not cruel, only truthful. So the mirror uses this word cruel, which I think is quite interesting because if you have to say that you're not cruel, that it probably hints that sometimes a mirror can be perceived that way as being cruel, or the image that it propels forward can be seen as cruel. So if the mirror has to state that it is not cruel, do you understand what I mean? It's like perhaps it's hinting towards some sort of perception of a mirror. The eye of a little god. This is a metaphor, and the mirror says that he basically, or the mirror compares itself to this god. If you think about God has the connotation of being all-knowing, being omniscient. And so this mirror claims to be all-knowing and seeing everything and just reflecting it back at you. Four-cornered, that could reference like the a mirror being like square or rectangular, or also the fact that it shows you absolutely everything about your appearance, that it's all four corners. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall, still personification that the speaker or the mirror is meditating on the opposite wall. So that points to a mirror is not used all the time. It's usually sitting on a wall, and only when a person actually goes to view themselves in the mirror is the mirror actually active or doing its job. But also think about if it's on the opposite wall, the mirror is observing, and we're going to have the introduction of a woman soon in this context and what she sees in the mirror. And so this mirror on the opposite wall is actually seeing what the woman is doing every single day, is noticing and observing day in and day out. It is pink with speckles, so he notices the wall that he looks at, the mirror, and you see that the mirror notices the details. So that's important as well, because if it notices the details of the wall, then it's going to notice the details of the woman and going to reflect that back at her. I have looked at it so long, I think it is a part of my heart. This is a really interesting line because to me, this is the first point where we're going to cast doubt on the fact that the mirror is perhaps not as objective, honest, and straightforward as it might seem. Because it says that the mirror claims that it's a part of his heart or her heart or its heart, But if you have a heart, then perhaps you can't really be objective. You can't really just show the truth if you have a heart, because a heart signifies some sort of subjective emotion that you possess. So this is an interesting one, and it casts doubt on whether the mirror is actually so honest and straightforward as it claims to be. If it has a heart, how objective can you possibly be? But it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. So faces and darkness, you can see this literally in terms of, like, the lights going out, or you're turning off the lights at night, the woman's no longer looking in the mirror. You can also think about like faces in terms of other people sort of walking by, and this is what separates the speaker or the mirror and the woman. But we can also see this in another way, that faces and darkness maybe separate us from the truth, because remember, the mirror is claiming to be the provider of truth. Now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I am important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning it is her face that replaces the darkness. In me she has drowned a young girl, and in me an old woman rises toward her day after day, like a terrible fish. So in the first stanza, we had the mirror, sort of this 2D idea, and now we're going to have the introduction or the transformation of the mirror into a lake, which is a more 3D idea. And this is going to mirror, pun unintended but also intended, this is going to mirror how the woman finds meaning and identity deep into her reflection. So the mirror claims to show the woman as she is, but this woman is going to actually seek deeper understanding into herself and perceive more with the reflection that she gets from the mirror. So now I'm a lake, transformation of the mirror. The reflective lake is now going to mirror or reflect the aging of the woman. A woman bends over me. Notice the indefinite article of a. This could be any person then. This is a sort of universal poem which links to the universal theme of mortality that we're going to discuss later on. A woman bends over me. Bends, you can think of this literally like she's bending over to see herself in the reflection of the lake, or you can think about it like bending is usually to show like a sign of like you are praising someone or respecting someone, you are bowing to something, and this can show how in our society we bend to or bow to appearance. It's really important to us. Searching my reaches for what she truly is. And my question to you is, can you really see who you truly are in a mirror or a reflective surface? So I would say perhaps not, because that's your appearance you can see, but who you truly are is perhaps more deep than what you see in a mirror. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. So she's clearly not happy with how her reflection looks, and this can show how she's preoccupied with her appearance and with aging, and she doesn't like perhaps what she sees in the lake. And so what does she do? She turns to, and this mirror calls them liars, the candles or the moon. Because the candles and the moon, they don't illuminate your whole face, they only give off a glow. They can delude your perception of appearance, and this is exactly what the opposite of what the mirror claims to be. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. The mirror says the mirror will continue to reflect an accurate depiction of who the woman is. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. This is ironic because she's the use of the word reward signifies something positive, like that there's something joyous or happy or some sort of prize. And then we see what the reward is, though it's completely unexpected. It's tears and an agitation of hands. This is an upset reaction to the aging process. I am important to her. I is what the mirror represents. And what does the mirror represent? Think about it. Is it outer beauty or is it your true self? She comes and goes. Notice the caesura, the full stop in the middle of the line there, just emphasizing this very simple truth that I'm important to her, that what she sees in the mirror is really significant in her life and shapes her perspective of her life. So do you see my question to you that I posed earlier about whether a mirror is truly objective and honest and straightforward? Because I'm important to her shows that what the mirror is giving off actually shapes the woman's perception of herself. So think about that. She comes and goes, so she always returns to the mirror. She gravitates towards the sort of, in inverted commas, truth of her being and what she's obsessed with. Each morning it is her face that replaces the darkness. Darkness is the sort of default state of the mirror, so every morning she comes there and replaces the darkness. In me, she has drowned a young girl. So the use of drowned is an allusion, is a reference to the lake image introduced in the first line of the stanza. And so this speaks about how when she first started looking in the mirror, maybe she looked like a young girl, and all of her efforts have sort of been put into this mirror. She spent so much time looking in this mirror. She's put, drowned sort of signifies like an overwhelming sense. She's put an overwhelming sense of who she is into the mirror, and she's drowned this young girl. And what has happened? And in me, an old woman rises toward her day after day. And so this shows the aging process, how the woman has changed, her appearance has changed, that she becomes an old woman. Rises towards her day after day. This is like day after day continuous, and that links to the enjambment in these two lines as well, the run-on lines. Aging is an ongoing process that cannot be stopped or contained. Like a terrible fish, and this is a really shocking simile to end off with, to show that how the youth has left her and how the aging process is coming along. If you think about a fish is something like slippery, so aging happens really quickly, it's sort of uncontrollable. It also links to the lake imagery, and it's a terrible feeling to be aging. This is what the speaker really tries to bring across. It's this unavoidable process of aging, which is truly, in the most like sort of simple terms, is terrible. So I want you to think about how the mirror perhaps is not exactly what it claims to be, because it reflects an ever-changing person or being, and it shifts and becomes alive or interpretive when the woman values its opinion by glancing at her appearance. The structure of the poem, we have two stanzas of 9 lines each. Enjambment in the last 2 lines, as we spoke about, is this process of aging. They are clear and direct sentences, short and mostly simple. This is what the mirror claims to be, straightforward. First person perspective of the mirror. The tone and the mood, we can call it, at the end it's definitely melancholic, but throughout the poem we can say it's reflective, contemplative. The mirror is also gives off this tone of detachment, informative, sincere, and at the end it's quite intense. The themes of the message is the outer versus the inner self, aging and its effect on us. It is disconcerting. Appearance versus reality and its link to our identity, and death and mortality. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.